Gamer Feed Radio.
It's the sort of thing, raise the tone. How the sausage gets made.
Masterstroke. Virgin eyes. Everybody, mess themselves.
That's a masterstroke.
Getting jiggy with it? Okay. A masterstroke. Giddy up.
Where I was humping
Giddy up.
Masterstroke?
Yup.
Yep.
Saddle me up for some of that salad.
The sort of thing I will never get rid of my Wii. My original Wii.
I have my Wii.
It's the sort of thing.
Golden nub.
The sort of thing. That's the sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's
whatever.
the sort of thing. Shouldn't be too rough.
These knees.
Hello. Idiots. Or I have successfully pulled things from my own. Nick's an idiot. It's the sort of thing I spent 30 minutes waggling this morning, as a matter of fact. Virtual D-pad.
Giddy up.
This is the sort of thing
That I think they could have literally come out and all Reggie had to do was fart on stage and they'd have won. I mean, put the mic up to the guy's butt and he would have won.
raising the tone. It's the sort of thing,
you must listen to me.
It's the sort of thing haters gonna hate. For the most part, he's a bad mother. It's the sort of thing, and it's the sort of thing, it's the sort of thing, that's the sort of thing. It's the sort of thing.
Rob switched from briefs to boxers.
It's the sort of thing, it's the sort of thing, it's the sort of thing, it's the sort of thing. It's the sort of thing, it's the sort of thing, it's the sort of thing, that's the sort of thing. It's the sort of thing.
It's like a really wet fart.
That's the sort of thing that Canadian. I can hear you judging me.
Canada.
Shut up, Nick.
Should go to the doctor for all these issues.
Just get a powder or something.
I like different things in different times.
It's the sort of, but it's the sort of thing that.
Yeah. It's a dying giraffe. What?
It's the sort of thing. That's the sort of thing. Being the sort of thing that.
The up.
I'm Batman.
Ooh.
Hello and welcome. This is Gamer Feed Radio. Thanks for joining us, everybody. This is episode 42. Talking about mobile games today. Joining us here today, usual suspect, Nick Delacave.
Best intro ever.
And the mastermind behind the best intro ever, Andy Scheidt.
You're welcome, Nick. And Rob.
I'm
and
so
Brad
happy.
eventually.
I'm so happy.
So thanks for putting together that supercut for us of our first 10 episodes.
And there's more.
I'm sure there are.
Dear sweet mother.
Oh, man. Okay, let's get started today, shall we?
Listening back on that, I'm kind of like, I can't believe I said that. Ever. Like, those words came out of my mouth.
I can.
Yeah. But, I mean, in the heat of some of those discussions, you just say things. Top of mind, stream of consciousness. Yeah.
Yes, you said many things in the last 42 episodes. 43 since that one went all the way back to -1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot. A lot.
It makes for good times at work when everyone's like, what the heck is he losing his mind over on it?
Yeah.
So today is, this is episode 42. We're talking about mobile games today. We're also going to check in at the save point, as we have a tendency to do, talk about the latest craze sweeping the Gamer Feed staff nation. But before we do that, I want to do an impromptu... Just one second. I want to do an impromptu random access.
It's really funny to me how you're trying to type.
Well,
with
things
your
are...
one finger.
Yeah, things are a little tricky right now. So I want to do a random access, and this is why, because I have some gears to grind.
Uh-oh.
So the Amiibos came out this week. Wave 4 of Amiibos, which regular listeners to the show will know that Nick and I...
We're kind of obsessed.
Yeah, a little bit. I haven't gotten any of them so far. It's been so frustrating. Because everything got botched this time around. I just want to take a little bit here before, because, we've been doing the noobs feeds lately once a month, and I can't wait another 3 weeks on this one.
No. Well, there was a lot that just happened the other day, right, with Nintendo.
With the Nintendo Direct,
spent an entire episode talking about all the things that were revealed, but particularly with Amiibo, it's interesting to me that why don't other regions have this problem? Like, they don't have this. Europe, Australia, APAC. I mean, we're the only region that has this shortage, demand, everybody runs for the hills issue. I mean, is it just that we're that crazy over stupid toys? Or everybody knows they can make a quick buck? Like, What's the deal?
I don't know if it's a matter of their. I mean, this was kind of an extreme case because like all of them are difficult to find.
Right.
So
you're going to have to buy them on Amazon in about a month. After
Yeah.
they go live on the 25th, you'll have the initial hype, and then the price will come down, and you'll pay $25-$30 a piece, and that's what you'll have to do.
So just to recap everything here, Wave 4 Amiibos went up for pre-order on Thursday afternoon. The idea was that they were supposed to go up simultaneously at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time online and in stores. GameStop changed their plan like the day of, saying, hey, we're only going to do in stores and then we'll put them up online later.
Yeah, of course.
But the idea is they're trying to drive people back to brick and mortar because they're still attached to that for whatever reason. Even though, I mean, I hate going into GameStop anymore, even if if I need to do a trade-in or something like that. Because they ask me all these awkward questions like, do you want to pre-order anything through us? No, I really don't.
Yeah.
Because I can get it cheaper on Amazon and faster, and it's
Yeah.
really a pain to come down here.
Yep.
And no, I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm a younger guy. I'm not grandma coming in for the video game for my son.
Yeah.
I know what I'm coming for.
The only reason
Why would I
I'm
need
here
anything
today
else?
is because I'm
Yeah.
turning something in to get store credit. And no, I don't want one of your cards. I don't want one of your cards. Sorry.
I have a card.
But so they were trying to drive people to brick and mortar on this one. And then the problem was kind of on. First of all, there's two problems here. One is Nintendo, for whatever reason, doesn't give enough supply to anybody on these because GameStop sold out of pre-orders in store before they even got a chance to put them online. Is my understanding right now. Is that everybody was trying to get them. They crashed the website at 3 p.m. because I was trying to get on.
Well, and then there was a rogue. One of the amiibos popped up on Target, and it was gone in 7 minutes.
Well, that was probably Jigglypuff. It was
Exclusive.
Jigglypuff. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
7 minutes.
So Target's exclusive, and poor Target for getting Rosalina and now Jigglypuff. I mean, they're selling
ones ever, Rob.
They're selling out, so I guess it really doesn't matter, and it's unfair for me to judge. But you
well,
know,
but that's the
GameStop
thing.
is getting like Shulk and Nest, and I'm like, those I can get excited
so
about.
now it's getting down to the real supply and demand, okay? So what's happening is there aren't this many fans. I'm telling you there aren't. It's jackholes that are going out there, and they're snapping them all up. Even if the retailer puts on the 1 per customer restriction, they go and create 10 aliases.
Which they've done this time.
Absolutely. They go create 10 aliases, they order them, then they put them up on eBay for 2 to 3 times the price, and they make a buck on it. Like I was just, with great interest, looking at Amazon today.
I've been checking like every couple
Everything
of hours.
says unavailable. Wait until after the 25th or the 29th or whatever it is, and then the other regions will start selling their stuff, and you can get it.
Well, Amazon hasn't even put them up yet.
Well, no, there's 4 of them on current that are listed as currently
there is
available.
not.
I just looked at them
Not on Amazon US. Amazon US, actually through Amazon LLC, is not selling them yet. They haven't put them up on the website. What you're seeing are people posting their own of, hey, I'm going to get this pre-ordered, and you can get it from me. That's why you're seeing the jack prices on them.
No.
Those have been up for a while now.
No. So the 4 that I'm talking about just came up within the last 24 hours, and they're. If you go to the main Amiibo page on Amazon, where it shows all the pictures, and you can click on the pictures, there 4 of the 8, 4 of the 6, however
There
many there
are. I want to say there are
8 total, 6 plus 2.
I think there's 8. Yeah.
So 4 of them are there. They're listed as currently unavailable from the main Amazon Amiibo page. I looked at it on my cell phone just this afternoon. So, but there's oddly only 4 of them. The other 4 are not listed at all. So I don't know what that's all about. But I'm telling you, after the 29th, you'll just have to pay double and you'll get one. And that's life. And you know what? I've done it enough times for some of the rare ones already. It's not going to hurt my feelings.
But
it sucks, but that's happening.
But it shouldn't be that way. I mean, come on. People want to buy your product. You're not getting anything
That's
off
right.
of the resales here that everybody
look,
else is doing.
They're playing a really interesting game with this because this all comes down to the AR cards that are coming out at the end of the year.
But they're
they're going to charge $10 for a card or whatever,
But
and
that's
they're going
gonna
to
be
make a
something-
fortune.
But that's going to be something different. That's not like the Amiibo. It's not going to replace Amiibos. It's something different.
I
that they're
think
doing.
long term it will.
And props to them for kind of expanding their Amiibo offerings to where they've got. It's not just the plastic figures that for
I'm getting a
various
pink
games.
Yoshi for my daughter.
I'm going to get a green one for myself because I'm a man-child. But but I mean, I'm going to be getting Woolly World anyway. So when I saw that they were actually doing, but I mean, it's an Amiibo, but it's a different Amiibo. And then the cards they're going to be doing for Animal Crossing, is it?
Yes. To start with,
Is something else.
but eventually they're going to phase out of the toys entirely, And so what will happen is 10 years from now, if you were one of us suckers that dropped all that major coin on buying those toys, you could conceivably trade those in for a pretty penny. Because they're going to get hard to find. They're not going to remake them. It'll become a limited edition series. Everything's going to go to the cards. They're going to charge 25 times the price that it actually costs to make one to sell it. And I don't mean like $20. I mean, it'll be $10 or $7. It takes, a nickel to make one. And they're going to make a fortune on just cards. And, I was thinking about this the other day because there was a thing on Facebook. It was like, you were born in the 80s when, and it showed a picture of Pogs, like the tube with all the Pogs in it. Mm-hmm. And that's the same kind of thing, right? They're just getting on that hype train. They want people to do the collectibles like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Marvel or any of that other stuff that's been out there. So it's interesting strategy. I mean, we thought it was interesting that they were late to the Infinity Skylanders game, and look at what's happening. And now they're going to do the same thing with cards, and it's going to be equally as successful, especially if they go into the Pokemon universe. Because imagine having a real Pokedex that actually had in-game functionality. I mean, I think people would be all over that. The young kids, I mean, especially in Asia, that'll go like bonkers, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing so far. I mean, that's frustrating. I need to check out what you're talking about with the. And as soon as we get done here, I'm going to check that out
because I've been happy to do it over your shoulder.
I've been checking about once an hour, just browsing, just searching for Amiibo, all departments, and looking through the listings, 6, 7, 8 pages deep.
I'll show you.
And they have there's a listing on there for each one of the mains, but it's all like resellers. Like it's all a promise of a Japanese import,
right? That you're going to pay $1 million for, and you have to wait 90 days for it to ship.
Yeah,
you're better off waiting until after they launch in the other regions at the end of this month. And then the ship dates will get more realistic as the product is actually in hand.
And realistically, some of those you'll be able to find in stores, too. I mean, what they're saying so far is that actually Robin and Lucina sold out before Nest did at GameStop.
I'm not terribly surprised by that.
Well, I'm not either, but the thing that frustrates me about... Well, there are many
all
things
I care
that
about is that
about
Lucas
this,
one.
But I just
I'll
got...
pay $1,000 to get my hands on that. I'm not kidding.
But I mean, since I just got Codename Steam, and the game just talked me into the extra functionality of spend... the price of the game over again to get these Amiibo figures you can use with it, and now they're not going to be readily available. You got to be kidding me. Why do you have a function of your game be unavailable?
Rob, there are so many things that happened with Nintendo in the last week.
Yeah.
I could weep for days. It boggles the mind. Although the Nintendo Direct was full of a lot of great information.
Yeah.
And if you want to check it out if you missed it, Nintendo, as of at least this posting, still hasn't posted it on their YouTube page, so you can check it out on our Facebook page. We have a link to it. But it was great. I loved the all the various news. I'm crushed about Zelda. Crushed.
You really shouldn't be.
I'm crushed.
You should not be surprised by that. Come on.
So look, my main beef about it is, ultimately at the end of the day, is it a good decision to delay it and make it the product it ought to be? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think they're going to screw with it for either, like they did with Twilight Princess for the GameCube Wii split, which everybody hated because the game was built for a different platform, and then you twist it at the last second, and it turns into a kind of meh mechanic, although the game was great.
No.
I'm telling you.
NX isn't close enough. They don't do that.
But we don't know what they're going to do.
What I do think they're going to do is I do think once they get into 2016, they're going to think we should hold this for holiday so we can push consoles with it.
Of course. They're going to miss the holiday push this year. Why would you launch a Zelda game in February? That's stupid. So I'm rabidly furious about that. And I get it. I understand. It doesn't make me any happier. And I was so mad when I caught wind of the announcement that I was almost to the point where it's like, I am not buying another Nintendo product the rest of the year. That's how pissed I was. Because, same thing with PlayStation. I mean, if you're looking forward to Uncharted 4, tough crap. Although,
well, see,
doesn't blow me up as bad because
you don't necessarily care about most of those games anyway.
I don't.
I have to say, Nick, I love you, but I don't understand why you've been so beaten up over all of this stuff.
Makes
because
me angry.
You play maybe 3 games a year.
I know. That's what my point.
I mean, honestly, once we started doing this show, the amount you were playing skyrocketed.
Yeah,
but still, it's not a whole lot. Just you don't have that much time in your life.
But that's what I'm saying.
You have an adorable daughter instead.
That's right. And so when I have a game like that on the horizon that I'm planning on, and I won't stop playing it. It'll be a real problem. And it's gone. I don't have anything else to look forward to for the rest of the year.
See, but that's why it's good to have persistent games like Final Fantasy XIV or Destiny, things you can go back to.
Yeah, but both of those... Right, but I don't want to... My point then is it's about money choices, right? I don't want to blow $15 a month on that because that money can be used for other things, which it probably will end up like, God, I don't know, diapers. and which a lot of people don't have those problems, but that's life. And then I don't want to play a game like Destiny. I mean, I might dabble in it a little bit, but that's it. So for people like me who have very specific tastes, and I know there are many of us out there, I'm pissed. So while everybody else is running around playing their 15th shooter game, which I could care less about, I just don't care. I'm left to fight for the scraps that are left over, and it's annoying.
There's tons of time. There's plenty of time for either of those companies to announce something at E3.
Right, and I'm sure there will be something. I don't care about Star Fox. I don't care about Yoshi.
Star Fox didn't come this year either.
Well, I'm just saying they're going to talk about it. I don't care about any of that crap. So what are they going to come out with? It's not going to be a AAA title. It's not. They can't do it between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I've said to you off air. I think what their holiday ends up being Yoshi. I think they'll do it in December, like they have been the last
and that's
few
abysmal.
days. So they get holiday sales, but they don't have to compete with everybody else on Black Friday.
I think it's a horrible mistake. It just adds to the demise of the system. It's a terrible business decision, but it does prove that now that you look at the release window, you can definitively say that they recognize the system as a failure because of the way that they're spreading product. They know it's not going to do what they want. So by pushing out Zelda, we're going to get a bunch of random stuff. I'm not saying that those games won't be great for some people. It's not my bag. Yeah. So I was just heartbroken because that was like the big thing I was looking forward to this year, and now I don't have that. Although, I am thrilled. I wish I'm channeling Brad because of Brad. He actually texted me the moment it was announced. Brad never texts me. So when he texts me, it's special. He was like, Lucas, and he was like, June. And I was like, I saw it. I can't stand how excited I am about that. So maybe I'll just have to use, hilariously, DLC to tide me over for the rest of the year. Because I don't think there's anything else Nintendo I'm interested in this year.
Like I said,
Mario
there's plenty
Kart
of time.
and Smash Brothers, and that'll be it.
All right, let's move on, shall we?
Annoying.
Time to check in at the Save Point. Save Point is our regular segment where we talk about what we've been playing, and I'm not going to go into the full explanation here. This week, the game that's been sweeping the Gamer Feed Nation that all of us, pretty much except for Brad, have been playing is Final Fantasy Record Keeper, which, Andy, you were the one that turned us on to it, weren't you? Weren't you the one that first pointed it out?
Yeah, I
think
think I
so.
found that. I got an in-game app announcement of, hey, look at here, this is coming.
Yeah.
So I was just like, Final Fantasy sold, whatever it is, I'm in.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I was a little worried at first because they go either two routes. They either go the full port route of pay $30 for something on your iOS device, or All the Bravest, which that's all I'm going to say about that game. Yeah, Sai says it all. But Record Keeper is great. Andy, you want to kick us off since you're actually going to be putting an article up on the site later about this.
Yes, it's about half done. So
that's fine, no pressure.
But no, I just the first opening of the game, and you hear that music start up, and I'm a 90s kid all of a sudden. It's like, what just happened? I'm a kid, and I got goosebumps. But no, just seeing all these characters and such, that because you get access to Final Fantasy 7, 10, 4, 5, and 6 at first.
Yep.
Relatively early on, yeah.
And then you get certain characters. You don't get all the characters at first. You just get some here and there. You get the original 3 of the Warrior, the Black Mage, and the White Mage. And if you had pre-ordered, you get Titus as well. But you can work in, and one of the things I read about the game is they didn't want to make you have to pay to get the characters. The weapons they were fine with making you pay to go get, and it's a freemium game, of course. But they said with characters, we want you to be able to obtain them. We don't want you to have to, now you got to spend $5 to get Sephiroth because you couldn't get to the end of this and that.
Yep.
But when I read that, I was like, thank goodness somebody's actually paying attention to the fans and not their wallets.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the number one thing for me, and it'll be in the article, is the music alone.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
You hit the level and you hear that music and you are in that game.
The battle music from 7 at the very beginning, I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yep, sold.
But you log into 6 and you hear those sounds and you're like, oh, I'm
old
playing a
Narsh.
Super Nintendo all of a sudden. What is going on?
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, the basic structure of the game is honestly, it's kind of what I've been thinking of it as in my own mind is it's kind of Puzzles and Dragons without the puzzles. It's kind of it kind of has the same structure in terms of build a party, level them up, go complete various dungeons, except that instead of doing the match 3, you're doing a traditional Final Fantasy attack menu. And you go through, a certain number of dungeons with a certain number of screens in them, all the same things that, one might experience in Puzzles and Dragons, except you don't have the match 3 to actually fight. You just select the command.
I would agree up until the event they just had.
Okay.
Which is,
Haven't had
if
a
you
chance to
remember
play.
from 7, there was, when you're climbing the top of Shinra Tower, there is the steps of oblivion. You just feel like you're going and going and going. And I got to the very end, and it actually mattered who was in your party and what they could do.
Okay.
The second and third to last bosses, you had to have 2 mages in there, or you couldn't do the game because both guys' melees don't work. And you're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
I haven't touched this person. I got to go back to even complete with this thing.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it deviates, where it actually has strategy of, and the bosses do have the same strategies as they did in the original games.
Yeah.
You're playing their first boss, and you come up with this stupid scorpion-looking thing robot, and you're like, lightning, I need to hit him with lightning. It
Yeah.
just hits
Yeah.
you. But you know these things. That's the funny part is
Well-
you remember all those weaknesses, and you're like, why do I remember this stupid thing?
Most of the time, I got screwed on the Wind Temple on Final Fantasy V because I played 5, but I barely remember it. So you fight the bird that closes its wings,
Yeah.
and it has one of those counterattack phases.
I didn't have any problems with that level. Sorry.
Did you remember that it would
No,
do that?
I never played the game.
Okay.
It took one hit, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, but I
Everyone
mean,
defend.
I was just stacking up attacks, and then it closes its wings. 3 of my characters are dead, and I'm like, oh great, fantastic.
Well, the other thing, though, that I really like about the just the setup of it is I like the retro feel. Like I like how they took the
Absolutely.
futuristic stuff and made it retro.
What I enjoy about that is
Kept
that
the music. Like it's such a cool mix.
they've got everything's the pixel art, including the games that weren't pixel art. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to see
Yeah.
some of the later characters like Titus in sprite form.
Yeah.
But including the bosses in the sprite forms, too.
Yes.
That was something they could have easily just, here's a little map picture.
Yeah.
But no, they went into it and made everything that
Yeah.
you fight.
Which was a good call because now everything meshes. Even though it's kind of a weird premise anyway, you've got all these characters from all these different games going into... Basically, it's almost Mario 64, like you go into the painting and go through the level and all of that.
And the other idea I had with it is actually 12-year-old Andy's brain of, we could put this with this, and I'm playing with my Legos and my G.I. Joes with my Ninja Turtles all of a sudden, where all these superheroes are combining to fight this one big thing. That's what I'm picturing in my head.
The Dream Team.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the Nick might remember this. You probably won't, but there was the. Do you remember the anti-drug commercial, like cartoon on Saturday morning cartoons when we were kids? That brought all of the cartoon characters together. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Alf.
Maybe. It's hard for me to
vaguely, yeah.
remember yesterday, so...
Oh, okay. But that was just cool to see, everybody together in the same cartoon and.
Which it was similar to the other cartoon. It was sports heroes. You had Wayne Gretzky. And,
Okay, I remember
and
that
then
one.
there was a baseball player and a basketball player. I can't remember who. I remember Wayne Gretzky. That was pretty much all I can remember from the show. But
Didn't he have like rocket-powered skates or something?
yeah, it was completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it was a team up, and it was theme of the week, dealy, but same concept.
Okay. Alrighty. Anything more? Or are we going to leave it for your article so we don't completely?
I don't want to talk no more about that.
You should
Okay,
play
that's
it.
fine.
Yes, play it.
Play it. It's
Definitely
good.
one
It's
of
free. Get it.
one of the best. I would say best original outing for Square Enix on mobile.
Important to note that it's made by
DNA. Yeah.
So if that's what we have to expect for presumably upcoming Nintendo titles, it bodes well.
Which is an excellent segue.
I
because
try
it's time-
really hard.
Yep. Time for our feature presentation. And that's all I got. I don't know why I start the music when all I'm going to say is feature presentation. Let's go. So the topic for today is mobile games. Now, we've done a show on mobile gaming way back on episode 5, just because Nick and I got way off tangent one day and decided to turn it into a full episode.
Yes, it was quite a tangent. Several of those quotes may or may not have been included in the intro.
It's possible. But the idea for today being last week on our March Noobs feed episode, we talked obviously about, Nintendo deciding to put some of their IP on mobile. So this show is kind of in that vein of what's going on in mobile, what can Nintendo learn from it, is the theme for today's show. So that being the case, our podcasters had some homework today to go and take a look at some of the top games on the Apple App Store or the Google Store. Is it called
Google Play?
Google Play. I'm not familiar. I don't speak Android.
Well, you should learn it.
But whatever the case, take a look at some of the top apps out there according to the charts. Play them, see what works, see what doesn't. That Nintendo can potentially work into their stuff. So, Nick, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. So I went through the list with great interest.
Okay.
And I just picked out the ones that I have played.
Okay.
The rest of them I wasn't particularly interested in, so I didn't go for, like, my random selection was not necessarily random in the sense that I didn't go through just the top 10 and go, oh, that sounds interesting. Nor was I going to plunk down money for anything new because I don't care enough to experiment my dollar for junk.
Really, most of what's on there is free to play anyway. Everybody makes it up in microtransactions. At least that was my impression.
Yeah,
from
I mean,
looking.
unless you go for some bigger stuff. So let's talk about, like, I'll use The Room 2, for example, which is up there.
Okay.
It was like 52 or 53 on the list.
Excellent game.
It's a great game. I thought The Room 1 was better, but
Really, you didn't like the traveling across the room. Not just the same device, but this
I
device
liked
is
the
linked to that.
interdimensional, weird sci-fi story arc that was never really explained, and then you exchange that for, I don't know, I just didn't care so much. The first one kind of reminded me elementally to Eternal Darkness with like the different shapes, especially when it got in 3D and you had to turn it. I don't know, it just really reminded me of that in terms of look and feel. So let's talk about it. Great game. I mean, I like the puzzles. If you're going to do puzzles in a mobile game, that's exactly how I would do it. Make it complicated and interesting and have to actually use, the way that you move the screen or, accelerometer or, the various items and tools. I thought it was great. It's actually been quite a while since I played it, but it's one of those games that after you play the first one and you get addicted and you're like, ooh, the second one, you have to wait a year for it to come out or whatever, and then you play it and it's one of those things you just have to keep going. It's just you can't stop playing it. And it's not like they charge an arm and a leg. I think it was like $3 when it first came out, or maybe it was $5 and now it's $3, but reasonably priced. So you're going to get a good game. It's a relatively short experience for that price if you think about it, compared to what you get, but it's a high-quality experience. So you don't feel like, oh, I got Candy Crush, which I will never download on any device that I own. My wife is proof that that game is evil.
I was about to say, they already have their money's worth out of your family.
I will not download it. So, but yeah, I think it's the ambiance of the game. I think the music. I think, the way that they very cleverly figure out how to manipulate different puzzles and things. It's very good. So hopefully most people have played it. If you haven't, it's definitely worth picking up. What Nintendo can learn from it is, if you're going to do a puzzle game or anything related to that, that's a good start. No offense to the 3 Pokemon heads type games or Mario and Dragons or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's for some people. That's not for me. There's so many games out there that are like that, Bejeweled and all that. Who gives a crap? It's just like, to me, it's not the kind of originality that you expect that Nintendo, I think, is very known for their inventiveness. It's just drawing from a really old tactic. Everybody's got a flavor. Maybe they'll make a couple million off of it, but to me, that's not worth making a game, but that's just me. The other game, slightly different, is Two Dots. I don't know if people have played that. It's in the 90s right now, 92 or 94 or something like that. That game is kind of like Candy Crush. And the difference is...
Didn't you just beat up on Match 3 Gaming as
I
something
did,
that wasn't worth
but this is different.
your time?
In the sense that you have a certain number of lives, 5 I think, and you go through and you have to match dots. How difficult so it has to be 2 in a row, I think, or you have to draw boxes around and then all the dots in the middle disappear, or they have little cheat tools that you can win. They call them crates. And you can get a crate, for example, that will color, certain ones in groups of 4. So if let's say you have 4 dots in a shape of a square on the screen, right, just together, and you actually draw them, connect them, all the same colors on the field go away.
Okay.
And then the new ones fall, and you have that mechanic. There's a lot going on. Then it gets real fun. Later on, they throw in ice blocks that are impossible to break. You have to break.
You did
remember I was
tell me
telling you
about
6
this.
blocks, and you're like, how many damn times do I have to break this thing for it to crack, right? And then later on, fire happens, and then teleporting dots, and it just gets weirder and weirder.
More dots.
Dude, I got to level 125 maybe, 130, something like that. And then my wife beat me, and I stopped playing it because I got mad at her.
Is that spousal abuse?
I mean, it could be.
Your wife beats you? I'm just saying.
Anyway, so...
Do we need to call someone?
No, but I can't wait to hear that in a montage. So, what makes the game successful is, right, you have those lives, and then the lives come back over time, including as you're playing. So it's one of those where it's time delineated, and then if you want more lives or more moves, you buy them for 99 cents, it pops up. Everybody, of course, says no, because in 3 minutes, you're going to have another life, and you can play another round if you're really that dedicated, or you can walk away for an hour and come back and have a completely new game session. It's great. It's not obtrusive. Never had to spend a dime on it. I made it extremely far before I finally called it quits. But the game, it's easy to pick up. It's real addicting. Definitely recommended to try for that reason. Surprisingly to me, and I noticed this on the list, and I'm only mentioning because I played it on platform, not on mobile, is DuckTales Remastered is now out
Yeah, it just came out.
for $10, $9.99. So you got to buy it. I'm not familiar with how the control scheme actually works. I'm not sure if it's on screen. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
I think it is virtual D-pad. I'm not positive.
It
but,
almost has to be.
It would need to be.
But it looks great. They do the little videos and images and things, and it's very good.
It has an art style that would work. That would translate
Absolutely.
very well.
I played it on PS3 when it first came out because I love the original game. It was one of my favorites. I always liked getting over $1 billion so that he was swimming in the pile of gold at the end instead of the stupid little treasure chest with a diamond. Who wants that? And I like the voice acting. Bringing back Alan Young was a master stroke of genius. The guy's got to be 70,000 years old. They're propping him up like Weekend at Bernie's, and he's amazing.
I want to say he's somewhere around 95, maybe. He's
up there. And they're talking about bringing the series back, and I was like, oh, I don't know if the man can handle it.
They need to find someone else.
No, it won't be right.
I know, but at some point you need to turn that corner and let the poor man live. I mean,
he has
he's gonna
lived.
die in a recording booth. He deserves better.
Hey, maybe that's what he wants, Rob.
Well, it's possible.
Anyway,
he's done his time.
so what Nintendo can learn from that is, at least from an art style direction, right, it works very well. That's where I think something like a Mario type game can really flourish overall. But again, it's one of those premium you pay $10. So is a game worth $10? So in each of these instances, right, I've talked about it's free with the option to play, microtransactions basically. The Room 2, which is a slightly nominal fee, and then a really kind of pricey game, all on mobile. So they all work. They're all very successful, and I'm willing to pay for each one of those. So I think Nintendo has a lot of options for the future. So that's my take.
Okay. Andy, what you got?
Well, when I looked into the App Store, number one game in there, I just went for it. It was Fast and Furious Legacy.
Okay.
Now, just backstory. I'd never seen the Fast and Furious movies before about a month ago because my wife is a Vin Diesel fan.
Of course.
And
So is mine.
Who
loves
isn't
the
really?
fast cars.
Speak for yourself,
Wife
there,
or
sister.
not? Who isn't really?
I am Groot. Anyways, so I went through all those, and I was like, I know I'm going to see the movie 7 here soon. So let's throw it in there. It's number one game in the App Store. Why not? That's a perfect game. Everyone's playing it. Why not? The controls are so clunky.
Okay, so what kind of game? I would
It is
assume
a
racer.
racing game.
Okay,
Oh, God.
I would
It's
assume,
a straight-ahead racer, and basically your controls to go to the right lane is you tap right. Go to left lane, you tap left.
so it's an auto runner, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Like you start, you tap the gas pedal, and it's 3, 2, and you got to hit a launch button. It's like, what am I doing? And then he takes off and is like, don't hit the cars in front of you. Now the cops are chasing you.
Weird.
It's got a drift feature. There is a street race mode, a drift race mode, and then a drag race mode, which I'd never driven an automatic car or a manual car before, so I had to learn how to shift a car all of a sudden. I was like, oh, I'm lost.
I'm sure you're now prepared to do that in real life.
Exactly. You just press the button, right? But like I said, the controls were clunky. I'd be sitting there, all right, I got a draft behind this car, and I hit to the right, and wow, I just plowed into the back of this guy. And the cops caught me. Yay. But it doesn't seem that responsive. I think it was rushed out there, unfortunately,
Okay.
for the movie and everything else.
That's never happened before.
The other bad thing for it is it has a very short play time.
Of course.
Okay.
You get 5 races, and then you have to wait 2 hours to play again. It's like, I got better things to do with my time.
See, that's really. But that, I'm sure you also have the option to pay.
Oh, yeah.
to speed
you
that
can
up.
pay,
Okay.
because this
see,
game
but
is free.
But that's what I like about the Final Fantasy game that we were talking about before. So if you're good at it, and you end it with the champion gold chocobo trophy,
Yeah.
you get almost every time your stamina back so that you can go into another world. And basically the game, so in other words, if you have some modicum of talent, you can actually keep playing the game for extended lengths of time without having to wait for your
Well,
stamina.
even when you do need to wait for stamina in Final Fantasy Record Keeper, it doesn't
It's
take
3
that
minutes.
long.
Right.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I love that feature with having a lower countdown time, because there's some
That's how it
where
is with
it's a
T-Dots. It's real
15-minute
short.
per point, and you're like, oh, good grief, I'm done.
Yeah.
What makes it successful? Obviously, the movies. Mm-hmm. And there is a racing group out there that they love the racers, which I started when I first got my first PlayStation. The first game I got was a racing game.
Was it Ridge Racer?
No, it
or
wasn't
Wipeout?
Ridge Racer. It was something with an A. I can't even remember anymore. It had a rally car in the front. That's all I remember. It was a rally car racer. It came with the system.
Asphalt Assault or something like that.
So, I feel like that's why that is successful. Before I go into what Nintendo can learn from that, let me go to my second game.
Okay.
Which is a game I've had on my phone for over a year, and it is still number 45 in the App Store. Madden Mobile.
Oh, okay.
So I will touch the sports fans out there that don't really get touched.
That should be in the montage as well.
Yeah, I'll add that. Don't worry.
I'm sure they'll enjoy
I'm
it.
not safe from this. This game actually, I feel, is a very good mobile game. It's got very good controls. There are times where if you're not using Wi-Fi, it'll jank out on you just a little bit, but it feels like you're playing a Madden on a console. Visually, it looks great. Yeah, they're smaller, but you're playing on a mobile phone. Why are you expecting amazing 1080p or something? But it has challenge modes in it, which that's one of the features I like of the sports games, where you do this thing where you got to run around. There's one part where you're the running back, you get snapped the ball, and you got to keep inside the circle that's like skittering all over the place. You're like, my guy would skid, and he's like, oh, he's out of the circle, he's done. And I was like, oh, crap. The only drawback on that is once you hit level 50, you're pretty much done gaining more energy. So you do have a ceiling in it. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be a yearly game, I assume, because teams change, people change, and all sorts of craziness with that.
And EA can do that,
yeah.
so they shall.
Have more money. Though this game is free, and it is successful because it is Madden.
Yeah.
That fan base is out there.
Absolutely.
They rave about as bad as Call of Duty fans. They're there for the game. Give me the new Madden, whatever the new feature is.
Yep.
Ooh, the quarterback can turn his head now. Yay, new money!
Microtransactions?
Yes.
Timed
and microtransactions.
time savers, I think, is the official term for that nowadays.
Marketing spin.
It's more of pay to get better players.
Okay.
Huh.
But you can earn the coins through doing the challenges as well. So there is a way, if you're patient, which some aren't,
It's like here, free to play. Here's a team full of rookies.
Yeah.
First year rookies.
They'll
if
give
you
you
want,
one good guy.
if you want the franchise quarterback, you got to pay for him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to make $1 somewhere.
Yeah.
Or 6 or 10 or whatever it is.
Because you collect cards.
Right.
And it's all card based. It is another one of those card style games.
Huh.
So you do a challenge, you win a card or a trophy or some money. Or one of their live event things. Right now they're doing an Easter event, of course. So there is that. So going back to what Nintendo can learn from both of these, start with what works. And I'm going to throw it out there. Their first game, Dr. Mario.
That would be great.
That is what wrapped a lot of people into that first Game Boy. I remember playing that on the Nintendo, and that's perfectly built for mobile. You have your Tetris out there, but now you can have Dr. Mario. It makes so much sense to me.
I actually would kind of totally be okay with that.
I'd be okay.
It depends on what the control scheme would
That's
be,
the
because
problem for
some of
me.
them
Yeah.
is the touch to spin versus a button, which
Yeah.
is still touch technically, but
Well, I mean, I guess that could work. If it was touch to spin and then flick to drop, I think it'd be
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, that could work.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. That's where I was thinking with
I
that.
think
Because
That would
now that I think about it, because the only puzzle type game like that I have is Luminace on my iPhone. It's that's one of the never
Which
go
was
away
a
games.
PSP
Yeah.
exclusive for a while.
But and that's like that with the touch to spin. And it actually works pretty well.
And it
Yep.
really hasn't
Touch.
been done physically as its own game since the Super Nintendo, I believe.
Well, if you
It's
want,
been
if you
Virtual
want to,
Console rehashed over and over and over.
if you want to ignore Dr. Luigi, sounds like Andy
that
wants
basically means yes.
to. Yeah. Okay. Fine.
I'll admit I didn't know that existed.
Okay. Just came out 2 years ago. It must have been 2 years ago. Luigi.
Yeah, I think
It was
yeah,
2013. Random question. You said Madden is card based,
Yes.
as though like you have your roster, but it's like you've got cards in front of you. Has anyone ever done a baseball game like that? Because that makes so much sense. I have to believe somebody has.
Facebook did
Sports-
at one point.
Sports
Facebook
guy
had one.
Answer my questions.
Let me go back to originally Madden Mobile was Madden on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Is where it started.
Oh, okay.
And it was done by Playfish, I believe, was the company that was funding it. And eventually EA said, we see what's going on in the mobile market. Let's just basically kill off our Facebook, which they didn't even warn the guys that are playing. I had 3 guys we would play, and we would work together to build up our teams. And it was just like, well, we're not supporting anymore, so good luck. And we're like, okay. And then they went silent for about 6 months. And then Mad Mobile appeared, and it was like, okay, there's this new thing. Let's jump into that. And it's free, so why not? Baseball-wise, they did have one on Facebook, but I haven't seen one yet that really has piqued my interest. There probably is one out there, but it's not of the level of EA and all that. I know FIFA has one going along with Madden because those two are tied at the hip with EA. And it's probably because EA doesn't have a real contract with MLB to pursue those games.
I was just wondering if anyone had done the card idea with that, because with baseball it makes so much sense.
It does. And it's a lot of fun. You're sitting there, you're opening a pack. Just
Especially
like
if you got
when you
gun.
talked about Hearthstone, you'd open up a pack, and that was fun. And you open up these packs. You open up a pack, it flips out 5 cards, and you don't know what's underneath them.
Yeah.
You pick one. Ooh, nope. Oh, there's an awesome card, and he's going to update my team.
Yeah. But I mean, it's such a simple thing that games like that have the card-based thing can do, where it's just if you see the cards in front of you and you pick one of them, as opposed to you just RNG.
Yeah.
But it feels so much cooler when you've actually got the fake cards there. Anyway, that's all I got. You have anything more?
Nope.
Okay. For my games, I kind of went... I've been playing all sorts of mobile stuff lately. Mainly because I don't have a lot of other options. Since this is not a video podcast, my hand is currently broken. I'm off gaming at the moment. So I've been doing mobile because basically one touch is about all I got in me.
Montage that.
Yes, in the Supercut.
It's now going to be the best thing. ever. You
Supercut
don't
3.
even
I guess
know.
if you're doing 10 per, I guess this would be in Supercut 4.
Yes, it'll be Supercut 4.
Okay, so
2 is in the planning stages.
coming in 2017. I've been playing a whole bunch of different things this week in anticipation of the show. Really, once the idea came together for the show, I started getting real excited about playing a bunch of different things for it. So, randomly selected from the list of many things I've been playing lately, I've kind of seen things coalesce into kind of what I define as 3 different categories in mobile gaming right now. So I'm going to go with one from each category. The first one being kind of the mass market, hugely popular, free to play with perhaps strings attached. And I decided to go with the Great Satan itself, Game of War. Perhaps you've heard of it.
Oh my God, Kate Upton.
Maybe you've seen some advertisements. I don't know.
Kate Upton.
But I figured it was worth checking into just because it was such. I mean, they've really gone to bat with this thing.
They marketed the poo out of it.
They had Super Bowl commercials this year. I mean, they've got this whole ad.
I want to know where
campaign.
they're getting their seed money from, man. I want some of that.
I actually had a survey sent to me from another one of the games I played, and one of the questions in it was a series of actors, celebrities, and directors. They're like, if we do an action game or an RPG game, would you like Josh Whedon to be featured in it? Guillermo del Toro? Steven Spielberg? Vin Diesel? I'm like, what the heck is going on all of a sudden?
Everybody wants a piece.
We're going to go back to those Warcraft commercials where Mr. T was telling us he
Those
made the foo.
were he and
Chuck Norris?
William Shatner and all of them.
Yeah, Shatner did it. Ozzy did one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I played Game of War a little bit this week. It was an interesting experience. It's your basic kind of Clash of Clans type build your settlement up, go to war, all of that sort of thing, So which I was really enjoying for a while. It's interestingly laid out. You through the achievement system, it's kind of a hint system as well. It kind of tells you what you should be doing next, and you're like, because the first achievement that comes up is like what you should do next to build your kingdom up. And there are certain benefits that you get going into the game, like you can't be attacked for 24 hours, so you have time to build your kingdom up and things like that are pretty neat. And you're constantly getting advice from Athena with the face of Kate Upton. And so you go through all this stuff. It makes you join a guild, and then you start interacting with the rest of the community out there, which I think is, spoilers, what I think this game does pretty well is the community aspect. If there's other people playing too, you're connected to them. You're in this case, you're grouped together into an empire or whatever the alliance, I think, is what the official term is. Mm-hmm. So you're grouped with all these people together, and you can help each other out. Literally, you can choose to help somebody in your group when they ask for help, and then that decreases the time it takes them to build something, just by more and more people jumping on. So there's an actual real way that you can connect with the community that way, aside from simply having the text chat and people giving you advice and things that way. There's also like a constant gift system where you're always getting new things and all that too. But there's kind of the drawbacks to that too, which is it's a very invasive game. It's constantly sending you notifications saying, hey, come back, you've got a gift waiting for you, blah, blah, blah. And if you choose to opt into notifications, which I did on all of the stuff I played this week, and I've been getting phones ringing off the hook, constantly reminding me to try to come back into the game, which I think is something that Nintendo could do would do well by incorporating in if they did it in a
notifications?
limited. If they did it in a limited way.
Yeah, as long as every time it did it, it made the Mario coin noise.
Yeah, but I mean, it's along the lines of
That
what
would be
they
perfect.
do, just like my text on my phone.
I know, but like legit and not scalped
Whatever.
however you got it.
No, I got it off
Fake.
I got it off of the Mario 25th anniversary soundtrack, which is an actual sound file of the coin sounds.
But it's not officially sanctioned, Rob. They could take all of your monies for that.
I hate you. I really do. But I mean, I like the way that it has it has notifications of some sort that are trying to draw you back into the game. It has the community aspect that's trying to get you to group together with other players. I like those aspects. Those are things that I think would work well in a mobile game where you've got your phone and it's sending you. It's a communication device as well. Mm-hmm. That's a good takeaway from them, I think.
It's a me.
The thing that I didn't really care for was literally the first thing you see when you log into the game is the gold screen, the buy gold screen. Like you log into the game, it loads up your town, you see your town, and then once it catches up, before you can do anything, it takes you to the splash screen that says buy gold with real money. And I'm like, oh, that's sleazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, it's interesting. It's obviously doing well. People are going for it.
It's a new concept with a face.
Yes, but I mean,
all those tween boys are going, I gotta be buying that game, Mom.
well, I mean, there's no doubt that the advertising campaign is doing a lot for them there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think Nintendo will have that coming out of the box just with the name and just with the franchises, so they
I
don't need
agree
to
with
worry
you.
quite so
Yeah.
much about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I think the community aspect, the idea of bringing people back and using the communication device to keep in touch with them, I think is a really good takeaway. The second kind of category of games I have, aside from the mass market, is ports, like direct ports from consoles,
Go on.
of which there are many.
There are.
And fortunately, Nintendo has said that they're not interested in pursuing, which I think is a good move. Because
We will see.
they're really, I think they really are so touch and go.
Yeah.
A port that I've been playing that I've really enjoyed has been Goat Simulator, because I haven't had the pleasure of playing it on PC, and it's really hard to judge a game like Goat Simulator because it's kind of intentionally janky. But God, is it fun! There's just such wild abandon in
So
that
what
game.
you're saying is there are ways for direct ports to work and be successful.
Yeah, that's on the successful end of things.
Okay.
What I don't care for, I also shelled out. Fortunately, it was on sale at the time, but I also shelled out for BioShock, which I also haven't had a chance to play the console
Yeah.
version of it. But in that case, I think it's just too big of a game for the platform. Part of the problem with that is that because it's pushing so hard on the technology front to get a game like that to work on mobile, at some point you have to draw a line, and my iPad is behind that line. Since I have an iPad 2. So it'll run on my phone, but it won't run on my iPad. So if I want to play it, I'm playing it on tiny little dark screen because it's very dark and atmospheric.
Which, again, is a personal choice.
Yes. With, virtual D-pad and all these, buttons that I can't really see and get in the way of the HUD and all of that. So that is where I think direct ports of consoles, run into danger, is when you've got too much stuff going on. I think mobile gaming as a whole benefits from having a simplicity of game design where you don't have too many things popping up on the HUD, getting in the way. You have controls that are responsive. I don't want to get into virtual D-pad too much now because we'll talk about it later. So yeah, but I mean, Goat Simulator I think is really well done. It has virtual D-pad, but it's because of the nature of the game, it doesn't really worry you too much when it's unresponsive. It's it's not like you're having to run away from something that's trying to kill you, and you can't quite get there because the D-pad's not responding. But I mean, just the game design itself, that game has a lot of fun to it too. So that is kind of the console port. The other one I wanted to go for, the third category that I want to talk about was kind of like the indie scene.
Okay.
Of mobile gaming, where you've got kind of a weird, kind of whacked out,
Go on.
just
What is
just
it? What
different
is it?
I honestly haven't decided yet because
No.
I've played so many of them. Let's go with Papers, Please.
No clue.
Papers, Please is it's 8-bit, very retro graphics. The idea, I think the game is set in 1982, but the
A great year.
well, the idea is it's in a fictional
My
country.
wife, too.
In a fictional country in Eastern Europe, basically, you are a border guard.
Hey, you hear that, all our friends over in Sweden and every place?
That's not Eastern
Fictional.
Europe.
You said fictional Europe.
Eastern Europe.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I just
Like-
heard Europe.
Yeah, you don't hear many things.
I don't hear, especially from you, but go on.
Anyway, so Papers, Please is you're a border guard, and basically you are handed. People come into your station, and they hand you their documents, and you have to look through the rules. You have to look through the notice that went out today with the specialized rules for today.
You're the only person on Earth that got this game. I'm
No,
pretty
it's
sure.
actually doing pretty well.
I don't believe you.
Yeah,
But you and grandmas. I mean, come on. Who?
it's critically acclaimed.
What? I've never heard of it.
You've never heard of Papers, Please?
No, it reminds me of Indiana Jones
Why?
because he was on when they were in the.
Oh,
blimp.
okay. On the
No
blimp.
papers.
Okay. Shh. So
Sometimes I connect. Okay.
okay. So you're like the new Brad. Remember when Brad used to be like this?
There's one big difference.
And that is
Beer. Anyway.
okay. So you're looking at people's Visa and you're checking it against what official documents should look like, and you're checking the dates and you're checking the sex and if the photo matches and all that stuff, and you're trying to decide whether to approve their travel visa or not. And based on how many you get through in a day, at the end of each day you go home, you see how much money you made today, how many expenses you have, whether your wife and children are sick and need medicine or any of that stuff, and all of that has to come out of your pay for the day. So that's your impetus to do well and get through as many of these as you can, so you have enough money.
I can't even believe this is a real game.
It
Is this
really
like your
is.
April Fool's joke?
No, I'll show it to you afterwards.
You have to, because I don't believe you.
No, but it's really
This
interesting.
is a game of your real life. And I don't know why I'd want to do that to myself.
It's really interesting, I have to say. But because it's an unusual concept, it's
I do
it's not.
appreciate you of all people, Rob. And I have to say this with great joy. You play the games so we don't have to.
I guess.
But
So,
you
but-
do. You take the leap. So kudos for you. I would go bananas. I do that, like you said. That's life every day. I would throw something. I'd throw my phone. I would throw pans. It would not be pleasant.
I
It's
literally
not that
look
bad.
at marketing material all day long,
Right? Wouldn't
looking
that
for
hurt?
errors. It's like, I want to go look at more papers now.
All right.
But
Well, another one kind of on this indie scene that I've enjoyed this week is called Black Bar, where basically, and I mentioned this to you on the phone, the idea is you're reading letters from a conversation back and forth between this civilian woman, and a woman in a military installation who just got the job, and everything that she communicates has to go through the communications department first. So everything ends up redacted on the other end, and you have to read through, and through the context of the conversation, figure out what the words are, and then type in the words so you can complete each letter and then get to the next one. And through all of this, there's a story playing out between the two of them through their correspondence, and sticking it to the man and all that.
That intrigues me.
It's pretty interesting.
I have heard of that one.
You
at
have heard
least.
of Black Bar. You've
At
not
least.
heard of Papers, Please.
No.
Really?
I
All right.
really can't
All right.
see myself ever playing that game.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're the one who's usually willing to take one for the team. We appreciate that.
Well, it's
Our listeners appreciate that because everyone around the world is going, that's a thing?
yeah.
I really have never
But, I
heard
mean-
of it. I mean, what turned you on? Did you see it in the list? Or
Papers, Please, I'd actually heard about. Actually, Pear on IGN talked about it previously.
Oh, of course he did.
And then Black Bar was brought up by, I think, on NVC did a mobile show recently after the announcement that Nintendo was partnering with DNA. And I think the guest they had on that show, whose name I don't remember, but he works on the mobile side of things, had mentioned Black Bar. So I'm like, oh, check it out. Sounds kind of interesting. So,
Legit.
yeah. So that's what I've got. Let's move on and continue our discussion of all things mobile, beyond necessarily what Nintendo can learn, but just seeing what we like. Other all-time favorite mobile games. Anybody got something?
Infinity Blade.
Oh, that's a...
I love that game. Specifically the first one.
Yeah.
Because they had that demo, that Epic Citadel or whatever it was
Yeah.
called first. And you're like, wow, the possibilities and the graphics. And then...
That was kind of a benchmark game, it's especially the demo, because we're like, this is the first time we're seeing like a console-like experience on mobile.
And the way that they did the touch and the way it works and the different mechanics, I thought was pretty well done, considering. And the sequels are, on par in terms of delivery, I think. Some people didn't like 2 very much, but I thought it was all right.
Yeah, for the one person that may not be familiar, Infinity Blade is basically like, I mean, it's basically sword wielding Punch Out.
Yeah.
It's all about pattern recognition.
Yeah.
So it's basically you walk from one very slowly from one boss battle to, maybe they sped it up in the sequels. I never played the
I mean,
sequels.
you can speed it up. There's a button you can touch to skip through stuff.
But you're basically walking from one boss battle to the next, and then it's all about pattern recognition, recognizing what kind of strike they're going to do and whether you can block it or whether you have to dodge. And,
Well, and the
attack and all
replayability,
that,
too, right? I mean, you can play it in small chunks. You get to the end, you get your butt kicked, and then you can start over and actually take a different path
Yes,
than you
as
did
you-
the first time.
When you come
And I
back
like
as
that.
your descendant wearing
Yeah.
the same armor that's been
Yes.
passed down to the next generation
I mean, it's
17 years later.
It's a great concept.
Yeah, it's very interesting. But I think that's a really good thing on the Nintendo front for them to think about is games that are not necessarily bite-sized but replayable.
Yep.
because it's something that is loopable,
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be like I said, like the console experience on the go, something like a 10-hour game, 20-hour game, something like BioShock, the full version on your handheld. It can just be something that loops relatively well, and you get a good feedback loop of feeling like you're doing something, but there's a reason for you to go back and do it again. Your wife's favorite game, Candy Crush, is like that. The match itself lasts maybe 5 minutes.
I won't do it.
But because you keep coming back and playing it again with different modifiers and different difficulty levels and different objectives each time around, they can go, God knows how many levels are in that game, 500?
It's something.
It's crazy.
Ridiculous.
If you scroll up to the top of the map,
Yeah.
I mean, it's forever.
Yeah.
Anything else on Infinity Blade?
No, that was primarily it.
Okay. All-time favorites.
For me,
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Marvel War of Heroes.
Okay.
Oh.
It's been on my phone since release, October of 2012. A game making it 2 years on my phone, actually through 2 phones, is ridiculous. But I'm throwing it way out there. I'm a huge nerd. Doesn't matter. Sci-fi.
You have to be.
I don't
on this
think you're
podcast.
alone on this podcast.
You have to
Yes.
be on the podcast.
But like superheroes, I got my 6-year-old daughter like going bananas. We were watching
That's a good dad.
Agents of Hulk or Hulk Agents of something. I don't remember.
Agents of Smash.
Yeah. But she came to me and she's like, Daddy, we haven't watched the Hulk show in a while. We need to watch that. And I'm like, I love you. Yes, we have 2 nicknames for my daughters. The older one is She-Hulk. The younger one is Baby Thor.
Aw.
So,
Sweet.
superheroes, I mean, it doesn't matter. I have like 4 Marvel games on my phone. But the things that really draw me in is the card artwork, which is pulled straight from comics.
Okay.
So they're pretty cool with that. And it's the people I play with. Because in that, you have an alliance, which we use Link with that to talk to each other, because the in-game chat is horrendous. Won't even go into that. But most online group-playing games, you need a voice messaging system like Link. And I'm going to shout out to the Howling Commandos, because you're pretty awesome.
You actually got Howling Commandos as your alliance
We got
name?
Howling Commandos.
Holy crap, man.
Yeah.
Did you have to spell it weird?
Remember, October 12th, we got in right at the door.
That's fair. Nice job.
So we've got that. The other games I play would be X-Men Battle of the Atom. It's very similar. They're both card-based games.
Yeah.
But they have event-driven. Whereas War of Heroes, you do get at least a day in between events release. Where Battle of Atom, you feel like constant marathon the whole time. That's why it's sort of a little bit lower on my scale. But between that and Madden, my wife hates my phone. She calls it my other wife.
Yep, I know what that feels like. Sometimes.
Anything else?
Sometimes.
No, I will leave it at that, or I could go for days on
What's your
Marvel
favorite
games.
all-time mobile game, Rob?
All time, I have to go with in terms of like never having left my phone and also on my iPad. Spider. I want to say it's Legend of Bryce Manor, Story of Bryce Manor. Anyway, is one that's always been on my phone. But it's interesting. You play as a spider, basically working your way through all these different levels of a mansion, and there are all these insects around. And you basically need to, from one surface to another, jump and spin webs to catch all of the things. So you're watching their flight patterns and all of that, and spinning webs and trying to not run out of web fluid by the time you complete the level and complete the game. But also, as you work your way through the mansion, there are also little bits of story that you're getting through pictures and things like that of what happened in the mansion, in the manor. But that's one that's on both my iDevices and has been since the beginning. Another one that I've gone back to lately that I've really been enjoying is Plague Inc., where and that's kind of in my indie category. I love that you guys are writing all these things down. Makes me feel good that you're
No, I
interested
mean,
in perhaps
it means
looking
I'll have
into
to go
them.
look at it, and I will
Yeah.
immediately judge you based on what I see. So.
Plague Inc. is very interesting because you choose a some sort of either a plague or a virus or a bioweapon or nanites or in some of the paid DLC you can either do necrosis, basically zombies, or simian flu, which was a tie-in to Planet of the Apes. when that relaunched. But basically, you get a map of the world. You have this plague basically, and you choose which country to start it in. And then as you infect more and more people, you can upgrade different things about it. How it's transmitted, the symptoms that people exhibit, which helps in infection and lethality, and just basic abilities of the plague itself. Being able to withstand hot temperatures, cold temperatures, spread through blood, things like that. So the idea is to infect and then kill the entire world, which can be tricky with some of the different characteristics of these different plagues, because some of them kill pretty quick. So you have to be really good about spreading it everywhere before everyone dies off. Otherwise, you lose your carriers. And then the simian flu one is really interesting because on top of all of that, you're also managing the ape species as well. So you're tracking the infection of the humans, and you're also moving ape colonies around, establishing them in new areas, having them attack.
So you're basically Satan.
Labs. I mean, but there's some fun stuff too. There's one where the plague is Christmas spirit.
Come on.
So basically, there's no deaths, but you're trying to spread Christmas spirit all around the world. And you're
well, at least they're equal opportunity offenders, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. But I mean, where your different symptoms are joy and smiles and whatever, and which have different transmission properties to it too.
In management games,
it's interesting. But I mean, I've really been enjoying that. Again, one touch. I've been enjoying that this week because that's that's all I've got with sticking out from the splint here. All right. Any other favorites?
Dear God, my eyes.
Yeah. All right, then some general questions. Just kind of breezing through the overall topic of mobile games. General questions for the panel. Can big games work on mobile, or does everything need to be bite-sized? I talked about this briefly before my consoles thing. Or ports thing.
I think it really depends on what you want.
Okay.
I think there are great examples of, quote, bigger games that work very well. And I think there are examples that don't.
Any that stick out to you?
Well, I mean, I mentioned DuckTales, which can be done in bite-sized pieces, but it's a big game. Mm-hmm. So I think a bigger question is, how do you break down the time spent with that title? Whereas if you look at something like Final Fantasy VI, right, that was re-released and then changed and updated for iPad specifically, and you look how they changed it, some people didn't like that, and the artwork change got a big uproar. I mean, it's a big game. You're messing with the secret sauce. It's hard to do it in small chunks because of what it is, and the controls are okay. So, I mean, it was, I think, too much of a departure of the original is what burned it out. So it depends on the angle that you take. But the cool thing is all of those angles are viable. You just have to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And I know everybody keeps talking about, will Nintendo ultimately be successful? There's going to be a ton of failures. And I think everybody needs to be prepared for that. Just like there was when they made the jump to the original DS generation. There was a lot of shovelware. A lot of the games were crap because nobody's using the stuff. So Nintendo, I think there's going to be some mishits.
There have been many, many. I mean, people say of Nintendo, the only thing they ever failed on was Virtual Boy, but that is not true.
I agree.
There are many things, particularly in the peripheral department, that they have tried out that they divorced, and then, redheaded stepchild, you never talk about it again.
That's right. I mean, look, and that's the thing, right? So, look, I think it can work. It just depends. I really do think it can work.
Andy, thoughts?
I'm kind of torn.
Okay.
Where I'm going to go back to Record Keeper, Final Fantasy Record Keeper.
Okay.
Where they slim the games down. Mm-hmm. And basically, just going back to it, basically you're fighting each boss level, or each boss of the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you're getting 6 in the end. You're just not doing all the trash fights you have to do. And it's fun to do, yes. I'm a completionist, so I'm right there with you, Rob, where I will get everything, and it's fully leveled up, and I'm going to go into Sephiroth to annihilate his head.
I can't do it.
But I don't think Record Keeper would be as successful as it is if they tried to expand it further than, okay, you got a couple of little trash fights before a boss, but you're just getting a slimmed-down version, which it's easier to do. When I was downloading the Fast and the Furious, I got the stupid, this is over 100 megabytes, you can't download this until you get to a Wi-Fi. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not constantly next to a Wi-Fi. That would drive me insane. But I still downloaded it when I got home. But it is a drawback because you'll get those people who are, they're on the go all the time and they're going to, I want to play this new Mario whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 100 megabytes. Well, screw that. I'm not doing it.
Well, and I mean, I think that's really interesting too, because Rob mentioned earlier the parity problem, right, between newer games and the hardware that you own. If you're one of those people that keeps up with the Joneses every 10 years, or now, because of the way carriers are going every year, let's be honest, almost everybody is always going to have one of the latest and greatest devices every year. So when you re-release or release a new version of a game, you know that the vast majority of your audience is going to be operating on the latest and greatest version, particularly in iOS where the ecosystem is so closed. So, I think personally, the bigger the screen, the more fun the games are for me. Right?
I definitely have that too. There are some things that I'll only play on my iPad because I know I'm not going to have the real estate on my phone.
Yeah.
Because I've made that mistake before. We talk about big games. I've tried to. I did play through and complete Secret of Monkey Island remastered on my phone.
I can't even believe you tried that.
It was fairly brutal, but at the time that's all I had.
Sure.
Another one, but I mean it's a big game that I think works really well. Another one that I really enjoyed was Riven on my iPad. But both of those I think work really well because the controls are right there. It's all about touchscreen.
Well, and I mean, now that you got the rise of the phablet, and it's a big deal. I mean, people are getting the bigger phones, 5+ inch screens. I mean, it really does make the gaming experience better because you're not, trying to tippy tap these teeny little buttons anymore. You've got a button and it's there, and the touchscreen interface on all these devices as each generation comes along gets better and better and better. It's still not ideal, but it's better. So, I don't know. I think it,
All right, lightning round, best waiting in line game. What's your go-to?
It would have to be something like 2 dots, a quick.
Yeah.
Go in and do a level and be done in 30 seconds. A minute.
Mine always used to be Luminace for the longest time. Nowadays, it's probably Threes. Oh, another one for the list?
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
You've never heard of Threes?
No.
You have got to be kidding me.
No.
Basically, you've got a grid of cards with different numbers on them. You need to combine similar numbers and get everything up to. I don't even know what the. I've never. It's one of those games that, for me at least, it's not a game you beat. It's a game you just play.
Right.
You try to get a better score. So I don't know what the end game is, but you combine ones into twos, and then a two. A 1 and a 2 into a 3, and then 2 3s into a 6, and then into 12s, and then 24s, and all that. And you keep going as high as you can to try to get the score up as high as you can. So if you've got tons of 96s, you're doing well. Andy,
I'll go with
waiting in line?
Marvel Conquest of Champions.
Okay.
It is basically Bejeweled.
Okay.
Any of those type of games.
Match 3. Got it.
But it's got a story element to it. You're following along with the Marvel story, which isn't in any comics. So it's something new and original. So that's why it's not the same because it's got a story.
Yeah. We'll get that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second. Best plane trip game.
I'm not going to go with the game with this.
Okay.
I have the Marvel comic app. I can download. I'm in a group. And we can download these comics as a group, and I can just read for days and days all these comics I could never own, but I have access to on my phone. And
We need to sit and talk
beautiful.
comics sometime, you and me.
Mm-hmm.
As you can
Yes.
see, I have a collection.
Quite a bookcase.
Nick, you do a lot of traveling, or at least you used to.
Well,
Nowadays, things have toned down a little bit.
I still do a bunch, but it has to be. It almost has to be like an RPG type game because otherwise, it's in too small chunks, or you've got the stupid limitations on time, and it just doesn't work. I'll tell you that for that, honestly, that's why I have a 3DS.
Okay.
And it's Zelda, it's Fire Emblem Awakening, it's Smash Brothers, it's stuff like that.
Yeah. That, honestly, I think is why I'm pushing so hard on the idea of bite size in my biased agenda here. Because I think for Nintendo, I think that's the way they have to go, is if they focus on bite size on their mobile, they have a reason for people to still go to the 3DS. I said this on the last show, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not Tactics. I know you have it.
But the problem is...
Final Fantasy Tactics.
On my iPad, but the problem is it's the redone version. It's not the original. So
Okay.
the names and the characters and some of the nomenclature is different than the original version of the game on PlayStation. And it's distracting to me because I know what the original game was. And at the end of each move round, you have to, face the character in a certain direction. And the damn touch controls are almost never right. And it ends, doesn't touch where you want. So, meh. I'd much rather play it on an actual system.
Well, that makes for a decent segue then, talking about controls. Virtual D-pads, game on, game over.
Game over. For now.
Yeah, for now.
Because things will improve. The sensitivity of current mobile devices is like a bull in a china cabinet sometimes. You sit there, you're trying to do it, you're like, oh, what am I doing? You're running straight into the wall. And it feels, it just hit me, it feels like you're gone over to your friend's house, and you got your old NES controller, and Junior over there spilled pop all over the controllers, and it's all sticky, and you're like, it's not working.
Addendum to that, the ones where it's stationary or the ones where it goes wherever you touch. Like it redefines where the D-pad is from wherever you first touch, so you can move it freely. Does that make a difference for you?
No, not yet. I mean,
It all depends, because I'll go back to the Madden game I was referring to. In the bottom left, you have your little joystick for your characters and everything else. So you got your quarterback, and he's going to get sacked, but you're trying to throw it to this guy, and he's throwing it to the guy way over here because your thumb was near that player's letter or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that kind of sucked.
For me, anything here in gaming, period, whether it's mobile or not, you need to have precision in your controls, and I just don't get that very often with, touchscreen in general, but virtual D-pad in specific. So I'm definitely game over on that. Have either of you tried? They have those D-pads that you stick on, like the physical one that you stick on.
no.
Okay.
Seen it, but not touched it.
I got one this week. It actually makes a pretty big difference.
Really?
Because I got it for, I was hoping to use it for BioShock. Didn't work out that well, but it does work out pretty well for Goat Simulator, which also has a virtual D-pad.
Huh.
So, but then ThinkGeek also has one that looks like a little arcade stick, which I was also thinking about getting. But I mean, it does help. But I mean, ultimately, I feel like virtual D-pad is a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
For a poor game design decision.
Well, and you have to
I think most of the time, in a virtual D-pad situation, you could easily do point and click.
Well, and we're biased though too, because our primary experience comes from ages and ages of controllers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you have to kind of wonder that we're used to something different, so that's our bias. Whereas if the tables were turned, I think it'd be, you just learn to live with what you have.
I have to ask, have either of you tried the separate controller that you pair to your device?
No, I have not.
Okay. I haven't either, but the reason for that is because I don't want to carry around something extra.
Yeah.
That's just me. Whether it be the shell that you stick your phone into, or like the breakout controller that's just paired through the Bluetooth.
My pockets are only so big, and I ain't carrying a purse.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like if your game design is going to work, it needs to use everything that's included with the system. Mm-hmm. So, and that's another thing that I think would be good for Nintendo to take away. Is premium pricing viable? And if so, why don't more devs use it? Now, Squeenix obviously is the poster child here.
Yeah, it is viable because they're making money on it.
Yep.
And people want the convenience of putting it on their device. Perhaps not unwittingly known in advance that it may or may not be a pleasant experience, but doesn't matter. Fans are fans, and they want the version of it, no matter where it is, just to keep up with the Joneses, and so I think that's a factor. I think like DuckTales Remastered, it would work. I think if Nintendo created an original content game with Zelda characters, for example, do I think they could charge $10? Absolutely. Because people want Legend of Zelda. Mario, probably not as much. It's a little bit more diluted. But something like that, I do. I think people would pay $10-15 for it just to have it.
And I think it helps a lot if it's not a new IP, but a new game.
Yeah.
Because if you put the Legend of Zelda, the original Legend of Zelda, on for $9.99, people are going to say, well, it's it's $4.99 on my Wii U.
Or
Why the difference here?
Or they're going to say, I can just jailbreak my phone and get it for free on an emulator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it helps if it's a completely new game.
Yeah.
As opposed to.
That was my thoughts as well. This is a perfect opportunity for Nintendo to create another iconic character.
Mm-hmm.
A new world for everyone to join into.
Yeah.
And they're the perfect ones for this. They love that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And this is their perfect opportunity to create something new.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, something like Pushmo, I think, would work really well for that.
Well, I think it'd be also cool to figure out a way to have, that mysteriously hasn't been mentioned in a while, Miiverse connection, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be amazing. They need to figure that out. That would be great.
All right. Next up, and I'm just jumping around here, so don't pay too much attention to your agenda. Just because we're running low on time. Differentiation in a crowded market. What makes Candy Crush better than Puzzles and Dragons? The basic idea being here, you've got a lot of games that fall into the same categories, whether it be Match 3 or Tower Defense or whatever. There's a lot of similar games out there on the App Store. What do you do to break through that and get people into your game?
I almost don't want to dignify it with a response.
Okay.
Because both of those games are so outside of what I would typically enjoy playing.
Well,
yeah. But, I mean, it's all about who gets there first, what's the gimmick, and how much of a marketing budget do they have. And King Software has monies.
Yep.
And they're using it to their advantage. And you can't watch Nickelodeon. You can't watch any of those kids' channels anymore. ABC Family even. I mean, it's all over. And without seeing a stupid King commercial, Candy Crush, Soda Saga, Witchery, Gummy Bear, Shoot 'em, Zap 'em Saga, whatever it is. Yeah, they just got the market on that, and they're going to continue to.
What I think makes the difference is the extra little spin you can put on it. You were talking before about...
I called it Conquest Champions. I was wrong. That was Puzzle Quest I was trying to refer to.
Okay.
Conquest Champions is a Marvel fighting game, which is pretty awesome in its own right. But Puzzle Quest, they put in a story, and you got to have your theme, which they went with Marvel superheroes. You can do it Star Wars. It doesn't matter. If you try to tell another story, people are clamoring for more.
Yeah.
How hyped are they for Avengers 2? And I'm even hyped for Ant-Man, and I don't even know why I'm hyped for it. I just want more.
Yeah.
And tell me more stories. That's why people originally liked the show Lost. It told a story. People want stories.
Yeah. But I think those kind of games benefit from having that extra little something that the others don't necessarily do. In the Match 3 realm, anybody can do Match 3. Candy Crush does it pretty well, where they've got different little challenges for each level, different objectives to complete. Puzzles and Dragons adds the hook of you're leveling characters as you go, basically Pokemon for all intents and purposes as you go. One that I thought did really well was the Evolve tie-in app, Evolve Hunters, which has all of that stuff, the Match 3 and the characters you're leveling and all of that fun stuff too, but it also has the story of you're going through this area trying to chase down this monster, which is consequently what you do in the full game if you want to go buy that for $60.
This is why I didn't download
plus
it. Because
DLC
you guys
cost.
suggested not to.
Well, but I mean, I enjoyed the app, which I'm pretty sure was free. But it was really nicely done though, because it's still match 3 gameplay, but you match them up, and then that makes one of your characters attack, and you also save up power basically to use their specials, and you have to use the roles of each one of the characters. You have to make sure your healer heals or your tank is going to die, and all of that stuff that links into the final game. Gives you an idea of a little bit of the personality of the characters you're going to be playing in the game, and their abilities and how you need to work together as a team to make it all work, which I thought was really well done. Okay, in conclusion, what does Nintendo need to do to be successful in mobile gaming?
Be Nintendo of the 1980s and 90s. Go back to that model.
Okay.
Don't put up with anyone's crap. There's a lot of crap in the mobile gaming world. Be yourself.
Okay. I can't imagine them having too much of a struggle with that, because they've always kind of marched to their own drum.
But it doesn't feel the way it did back in the day.
Yep, I agree. Not only that, but I mean, even when you watch the Nintendo Direct, and there was no Reggie, which is odd, noticeably odd.
I still think they've exiled him because you don't see him a lot. I mean, I've mentioned to these
right, and I get Bill Trinan
before.
Instead.
Yeah.
What a douchebag! I'm sorry, the guy's a douchebag.
He seems like a nice guy.
No,
He doesn't have the personality of Reggie.
he doesn't have any personality. He reminds me of Cammy What's-Her-Flake from the Wii era, who replaced Phil Harrison or whatever, and she was the family touchy-feely crap that they were really going for at that time. But ultimately, that was when they did the bows and everything at the E3. You may recall the bows. It was horrible. She was horrible. And Bill kind of reminds me of like a leftover from that era. But I'm sure he falls in line more because he happens to speak Japanese. So I think that's in his wheel shop. But I don't like that Reggie's exiled. I don't like that he's not included in those things because, frankly, like it or not, I think the guy gets it. And I think he has. And anytime that he's led something in the last 10 years, it's largely been successful. When it's been Iwata or any of the other people, you get meh. So I don't know if that's a power struggle thing. I don't know what that is, but it was noticeably absent. In order to be successful, they're going to do something totally different. It's Nintendo we're talking about. It's going to be off the wall insane. It's going to be ridiculous and stupid. It's going to alienate half the base because that's what they do. And it's just going to be a clawing game to try and get those people back on and offering as much content as you can possibly offer, understanding that 60% of it's going to be crap. It's just like it is with any other publisher in the mobile space. I don't know that they're going to be able to do anything different. Even with the successful IP, I really don't. Not to be Debbie Downer, but...
Well, I think the IP is going to go a long way for them just having the recognizable
Sure, there'll be
names.
a lift at first, but that's it.
Although, as I think I said last week, I think they need new experiences with that rather than the ports. They need to, not just a new Zelda game, but a new type of it that fits the device, that fits the touch screen
Yeah, I agree with that.
input. I almost want to go the opposite way that Andy did in saying, do look at what... be yourself, but look at what other people are doing, particularly in the mobile space. Going back to what the various categories I was looking at earlier, what I think is successful, reasonable microtransactions, because that is going to make you money, but you need to be very careful in judging that value proposition of what people will actually pay for. I think the community aspect is great because it's more reason for you to come back to the game because you have people there and I think push notifications can be very useful too. Again, reminding you to come back and continue playing and potentially.
Yeah, I think if they were smart and they're looking at the macro strategy, right? I would launch 10, 15 mobile games. I would have every single damn one of them be free, get everybody hooked on the sauce. And then you start slipping in the goods. And that way you attract the fan base. You don't alienate anybody. You don't annoy. You don't do the DLC add-on packs that annoy, like Mewtwo or Lucas. For example, with Smash Brothers, you generate that goodwill up front that Nintendo is classically known for, and then you can screw them with the business model. I think otherwise they're going to flounder until they find it because it's an unproven market for them. Who knows where Mario or how Mario is going to fit in the mobile universe. We just don't know. You have the 3DS or the portable as an indication, but it's a completely different control scheme, a completely different environment and experience because they control it. So it's going to be interesting.
Something completely different. I just was thinking about it. Looking at DNA's resume here, they have their license with Disney, which gives them access to Marvel, Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Transformers. They got everything. What's to say we can't have a game where Link and Zelda are hooking up with Iron Man and Captain America and basically saying, hey, Sony, we still got your number.
That's interesting.
It would be completely insane, yes. But it'd be throwing down another
what's
gauntlet.
the next Smash character.
I'm curious about the legality of that.
Yes,
because
there's a
because
huge-
Disney has a partnership with DNA and Nintendo has a partnership with DNA does not mean Nintendo has a partnership with Nintendo.
But does Disney own any of DNA?
I don't know.
Was there any stock swap? I mean, that's an interesting...
Although that is a good point that now that Nintendo owns 10% of DNA.
Now, that doesn't mean that DNA is going to be able to violate any of the exclusivity rights of their other partners. But what that does mean is if I'm a Disney and I have a successful mobile space, do I go and buy out the rest? Do I buy out a stake myself? Do I lose the technology, heartbeat that's basically making me the money for this particular segment of my business? Or do you let Nintendo slowly but surely cannibalize itself in there and then take over, which I think is an inevitability?
Disney overlords.
I mean, but look, I mean, there's been a lot of speculation about should Disney buy Nintendo. They've got the cash to just do that and then send everybody on a vacation for a year.
Yeah.
You know, so then they would just about own every IP that matters, honestly. So,
Alrighty, finally, and this is going to be a lightning round sort of thing, but pole position. The weekly segment where we take a poll, we state a position, etc., etc. Must play mobile games. Anything we haven't talked about already? Go.
No, you got to play Record Keeper.
yeah.
Okay.
Plain and simple, you got to play
it's
that.
a good
Even
game.
if you're not a Final Fantasy fan,
Yep.
if you've ever heard of it, just try it. It has no muss, no fuss. You're just doing the little bits that make it important, and they give you a little story of what happened. It's perfect, bite-sized piece.
Yeah, I would say a game I didn't mention, Machinarium, is really good.
I'd write this down, but it'll take me 5 minutes.
I'll get it.
Yeah, Machinarium. It's really good on iPad. It's a puzzle game. The art style is gorgeous. Another great one, Robin, you and I talked about this. Monument Valley's a great game.
I was going to mention that if you didn't. Good.
It's excellent, fun, not terribly expensive to play.
Just saw it on House of Cards the other day.
Yeah. Either of those two. But Machinarium, it's great. Talk about it's puzzle solving to the extreme with brilliant artwork, and Monument Valley, which is just great.
I love me some Plants vs. Zombies. I just love that game. Bastion, we've talked about on the show before, is a great game. Nice, big, full game, but kind of bite-sized chunks because the levels themselves are relatively small. Then you go back to the hub. What else? I know you enjoy Swords and Sorcery, Nick.
Yeah. EP, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it.
That is a great game.
I mean, there's a lot of other big ones out there, but I mean, people already know about Angry Birds and Doodle Jump. And,
Yeah,
Swords
Swords
the
and
rope.
Sorcery is
Device 6.
quite good. I totally forgot about how much I love that.
Yeah.
It's like Triforce Zelda
you did.
ripoff, but it's the art style is 8-bit. It's great. The music's excellent.
I need to try playing that on iPad because I tried playing it on a phone
you must.
and it was too.
No,
it was
it's
not
too small.
great.
Do it on the bigger screen. Plug in your headphones. Giddy up.
Yep. Alrighty, about time to finish up this thing.
Do the exit.
Working on
Wait,
it. Working
for
on it. There we go.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it happened with one finger, everybody. So, hey, check us out. iHeartRadio and iTunes, because that's where all the magic happens. Like us on Facebook, because we do all kinds of stuff there all the time. And comment where you should be commenting and including your thoughts. At GamerFeed Radio on Twitter. Thanks for all the follows, guys, out there. GamerFeedRadio.com, articles and such. Until next time, peace.